What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. I just realized I never did like an official review on my 5th gen Cummins, so today coming at you live is a 3-month 7,500 mile review of my 2021 Ram. For those of you who don't know, I picked this Ram up, 2021 Ram Bighorn 2500 with a turbo diesel 6.7 liter Cummins in like mid-April. It is now the first week of August, so about 3 months I've had the truck now, and I put just about 7,500 miles on. I'm barely below 7,500 miles. I'd say so far so good, to be completely honest with you. I haven't had any big issues with the truck so far. Most of these miles are highway miles, as I do not daily drive this truck. I pretty much use it to tow, and I pretty much use it to look pretty on the weekends to go get my groceries with. The biggest trip I've done with the truck so far was driving down to the Florida Keys, all the way down to the bottom of the earth pretty much. We made a trip and towed a horse trailer down to Tennessee along the way, and then made a trip to pick up the wheels in North Carolina along the way back. Put about 3,500 miles on during that trip, and truck did pretty good. It did very, very well. All highway miles, did about 21 miles per gallon, which I think is pretty good in the 3/4 ton diesel truck. Have no complaints with that. Since putting these wheels on, I get maybe 18 miles per gallon like highway. And anything I do towing, like I've never towed super heavy with the truck yet, never towed out of the bed yet. Most I've towed with this thing is probably about 7,000 pounds. That's a dump trailer full of a bunch of wood, and I do that pretty often, maybe about once a week. But the truck does pretty good. So anything towing, I do maybe about like 13 mile a gallon, 12, 13 mile a gallon. And then now with the wheels and tires, like I said, like 17, 18. So this thing probably averages roughly like 15 mile per gallon total anymore. And I don't know, I think that's pretty good. I know once we tune and delete the truck, it should do a hell of a lot better. But for right now, that is what it is. Now, speaking of towing with the truck, like I said, I never towed out of the bed or never towed anything super heavy with it yet. 7,000 pound is something I could do with my half-ton Chevy, last truck I had on the channel. But I will say this thing definitely handles the weight a heck of a lot better than my half-ton did. Of course, it's a 3/4 ton diesel, and it pulls it a lot better, it stops a lot better, it just handles the tongue weight a lot better, handles all the bumps. But in general, I got close to 2,000 miles towing on this truck. If you look at my odometer thing, it shows almost 1,400 miles of towing, but it only counts trailers that have trailer brakes that you plug in with the 7-pin round. It does not count trailers with the 4 flat without brakes. For example, my utility trailer. I've got about 400 miles towing with my utility trailer, so overall, maybe about 1,700 miles towing with this truck, and I do think it does pretty good. Now, this thing is not a rocket ship, it is not a Duramax, it is not a power stroke with a nice 10-speed transmission. This thing still has the old 68, and it's kind of sluggish, I'll be 100% honest with you, but it does pull pretty much anything you want to put behind it. Like I said, when I do a heavy tow, I will actually do a video on that when I pull from the bed and put a bunch of stuff on it, and I'll make a cool video heavy towing with it. But so far it's been so good. Now when I do tow, I do use the engine exhaust brake, which is phenomenal on this truck. Not only does it sound badass, but it works very well too, stopping you. You don't have to, like, when you have full engine exhaust brake on and tow haul mode on, I really don't even hit the brakes in the truck. It stops pretty much itself. The engine brake is phenomenal on these things in my opinion, and on the 3,500 high outputs, they're even better. So like I drive a lot of 3,500 high outputs with the IS in it for work. The engine brake is a hell of a lot stronger than they are in this truck, but it still works very well. Now, when I'm not towing, I still use engine brake all the time, but I do not keep it in like full-time engine brake. I keep it in like the automatic, like the green one. And so what that does, it applies the engine brake when you're going down like a grade, or when you put your brakes on to slow down, versus like every time you take your foot off the throttle, it puts the engine brake on. And it does pretty well, but I will say the engine brake with no load behind the truck, it's pretty rough. It shifts the trans pretty rough, like going from like 4th to 3rd, 3rd to 2, 2 to 1. It shifts the trans pretty hard in the truck, and I get it. It accounts for like the extra weight being behind it, so it kind of shifts you right in gear. With the engine brake with no load, it definitely rocks you a little bit. I think that is something to be expected, and once again, we do got the old 68 versus like a nice 10-speed that like Ford and GM trucks have. With towing, you do definitely burn a little bit more depth fluid than you do without. I've seen guys get 10, 12,000 miles out of a tank of depth out of these trucks that don't really tow. Now, like I said, I got close to probably about 2,000 miles towed total towing on the truck, and I burned through 2 tanks of DEF. The first tank of DEF was actually driving down to Florida, probably had maybe 4,000 miles on the truck at that time. And then the second tank of DEF, I just filled this thing up last weekend going to Carlisle Truck Nationals, but once again I was towing. So 7,500 miles, 2 tanks of DEF, I don't think that's all that bad. And then speaking of the DPF system, that whole nonsense, regen. This thing, honestly, I see people on the Facebook group saying their truck regens constantly. I see people in the Facebook group saying their truck never regens. This thing's regened about 2 times, 2 total times. The first time maybe around 3,000 miles it regened for maybe 20 minutes and shut off, and that was it. And then the second time was actually pretty recently, about 2 weeks ago. Since I don't use this thing as a daily driver, for the most part sits. So it sat for almost 2 weeks without really driving it. And then I drove it all day, and it pretty much regened all day. Every time I started the truck, put it in drive, it went in the regen. And it sounds kind of cool when it's in regen because it's loud and the turbo sounds good, but it smells terrible. But in general, DPF filter always stays pretty clean. But like I said, I either drive this thing towing or I drive this thing on the highway. So the filter, I think, does stay pretty good. I do see a lot of guys on the Facebook page saying, you know, the DPF system seat dealer. Thankfully, I haven't had any issues with that so far. Now, additionally with towing, I think the truck does do pretty good, although it does squat a pretty good bit when you get some heavy tongue weight. The 2500 trucks just come with a coil spring in the rear. You don't have any leaf springs, so it definitely makes for a better ride empty, but it definitely squats the truck pretty hard when you do tow pretty heavy. So I do plan on adding some airbags to the truck just to kind of help with some of the tongue weight when towing, especially because I do think I am going to finally level the truck. And when I level the truck, it's going to sit 100% level, but then we have the same situation we had with my Silverados when I tow or put something heavy in the bed. It squats, and we definitely don't want to deal with no Carolina squat thing because it's going to make you want to like throw a baseball bat through my windshield or something, and I'm not trying to have that stuff happen. So we'll probably do a level. We'll do some airbags in the rear for towing, and we'll do a video review on that as well once that comes. But in general, I will say the ride is very smooth. For a straight axle truck, I think the ride's pretty smooth for a 3/4 ton. Now, obviously this is no car, this is no half ton. It is a heavy duty truck, and I think it rides pretty good. Now, like I said, I do drive a lot of 3500s because that's what we have at work, and this thing is significantly more comfortable than the 3500s are. There's no doubt about that. These things ride pretty smooth in my opinion. Exterior wise, truck's in good shape, man. I like the factory running boards, honestly, to kind of help from rock chips on the rocker panels from the wide wheels. Everything in the back is LED, which is nice. Third cargo light LED, all the tail lights LED, license plate lights LED. The truck sounds pretty good for what it is too, being completely stock. You do hear that old 24 valve inline 6 Cummins up front, which sounds pretty good. Sounds like a freaking tractor. I haven't had any issues. I keep the moose mirrors down because, well, I mean, I am not a part of the moose mafia, so I keep them down. I honestly don't think they're functional at all. Putting them up and they look stupid, but anyways, interior wise, the truck's been great. Like I said, here, check it out. 7466 or 7446 miles. And if I go down to like my towing menu, there it is right there, 1366.4, not including all the like the utility trailers that I tow and everything like that. But interior wise, I think that this truck is super, super comfortable. Definitely not the amount of space that I need being 6'7". My Chevy had a lot more like passenger room, like for knee room and everything like that. I am a little bit more crammed in this truck than I am my Chevy. But in general, like the storage has been phenomenal. The display is phenomenal. I love this display. I love all the controls. I love all my auxiliaries. I love the black headliner. I LED'd all this because it don't come with LED. You spend 70 G's and you don't get LED lights, but whatever. I like the dash display up top. It's very functional. The steering wheel controls are pretty nice, although it's like the same exact steering wheel they use in like the Jeeps and everything else since like, I don't know, like 2012. It's pretty nice. Cabin space is pretty good. I don't have passengers very often, but this thing is upgraded with the Alpine system, and the speakers in the ceiling, and then the subwoofer underneath that seat. This thing bumps pretty hard, so I'm very happy with that. Overall, I think that's honestly about it. It's just a good, quick review on my 2021 Ram Cummins. 7,500 miles, 3 months. I like the truck a lot. I'm very happy with my purchase. I just hope this video kind of helps someone who might be looking to buy one of these things. There is a lot of mods on the way, cosmetic and performance. We're going to finally start getting the performance mods here soon. I've been working with a lot of great companies to get parts for this truck, so I've been very happy with that. And I think all is good. I hope I covered some like useful information. I think I covered it all. I don't know. Everything that I wanted to actually cover. It's super hot outside. Hope y'all guys enjoyed. Like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe, join the family, join the Cummins build. I will see y'all guys next week. Peace.